What's going on, everybody? Welcome to part 3 on the cabinet making series I'm doing. Today what I'm going to do is cut out and install face frames on the cabinets in the master bathroom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Eastern Red Cedar lumber, and I'm going to take rough cut lumber and cut my face frames out. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to take the rough cut lumber, I'm going to run one edge through the joiner, take and transfer that to my table saw, and put the jointed edge against the fence. And I'm going to run it through and cut them down to 2 inches. That's how thick my face frame, or how wide my face frame is going to be on these cabinets. And then I'm going to take and from the table saw, I'm going to take and face joint the boards. That way I have a nice flat, smooth surface on the boards. And then I'm going to take and flip it over and run it through my planer, so I'll have 4 sides square. And then what I'm going to do is I've already got everything cut to size for the most part. I've got some joiners I got to put in here for my drawers I'm going to be making. I'm going to install a bay of 3 drawers like I was mentioning on the last video. And I'm actually going to take and run the plumbing straight down. This is a new house, and it's got a kind of a stoop space, I call it, because you can pretty well stand up and crouch and, kind of go to town, from one end of the house to the other until you get to the back portion. Then you got to crawl around a little bit. But anyway, it's a brand new house, and I can just run the plumbing directly down from there, so I don't have to run that pipe through that middle cabinet over there. So I'll turn the camera around so y'all can see all that. So yeah, as I was mentioning, I decided to run a pipe straight down and into the floor and underneath the house, and one here straight down under the floor and underneath the house. I can join them two together underneath the house, around this portion or so, because I have my my downspout on my jacuzzi tub here coming down, and all that will be tied together. So we got that, and I've also put these things on since the last time in the video. Basically all it is just something to mount the face frame to, and it's also to tie the cabinet together a little tighter. I mean, once you put the face frame on there, it'll be pretty tight anyway, but up here it won't have anything to mount to. So I cut these little strips out just out of, some scrap plywood I had laying around that I wasn't going to be using in the future, because they were small. And I've got just 2-inch pieces here, which is probably a little too small, but it'll work for the purpose. And then I've got 3-inch ones down here for this longer cabinet, because it's longer and it's kind of more wiggly when it gets longer like that. So I pocket hold the top, that way I can mount the face frame, and also pocket hold back here at the very end, so I can kind of anchor that cabinet whenever I get to that point. I don't want to do that right now, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these out individually, lay them down, and install the face frame on them. Then I'll mount everything together and put the bar tops on, or the countertops on, and all that. So, but anyway, that's what I got going on so far. So I'm going to take and get started on these face frames. So just to save some time, I've already went through and jointed and cut all these down. This is not everything, so I'm going to take you through the process of doing one set, which are going to be the joiners, like I was mentioning earlier, that goes in between the the drawers, and also the piece that goes from the top to the bottom in the middle of the cabinet. And I'm going to do that for two drawers, and I'm also going to do, or for two cabinets, and then I'm also going to do the longer cabinet with the doors that's going to go in there. I still got to do my measurements on it to see, how many doors I want on there. I think just 2 would be enough. These are custom cabinets, so I can make them however I want to. It's a good thing about custom cabinets, guys. So anyway, all right, guys. So I need 3 26 1/4 inch pieces that I don't have cut yet. I need 2, one for here in the middle, and one for there in the middle, and then one extra one that I wasn't able to get out of the boards previously that go on the sides here. Then I need 3 15 3/4 inch pieces, which are going to be the vertical pieces to this cabinet. I'm going to have one in the middle and one on the edge here. And this is just basically going to be 2 doors sitting in here, and that's it. And then I need 4 15-inch pieces, which are going to be the rails for our drawers that are going to be going in both of these cabinets. So I need 4 of those total. And then that's all the cuts that I need to make from the stuff that, you know, I already have and everything. So, but this is kind of the design I'm going off of here. Of course, nothing is a scale. It's just kind of a crude drawing, but you know, this is going to be the sink cabinet, both of them. You know, they're going to be like this. And then this one right here is the middle cabinet, which is simply going to have 2 styles, or 2, just 2 doors, I mean. So, anyway, I'm going to go out here and see if I can find a piece of, or a few pieces of wood that will make. Alright guys, so I got all my rough cut boards here. This one's the worst of all of them. I can get 3 of my 26 1/4 inch pieces out of that, and that's all I need is 3 of them. And I got this one here. You can tell, obviously rough cut. The edge isn't even straight here. I can get, I think 2 of my 15-inch pieces out of that one. And I can get 2 of my 15-inch pieces out of this one. And then this one here, I can get 2 of my 15 3/4 inch pieces out of this one. And then lastly, I can get my last 2, well actually just one 15 3/4 inch piece out of this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and run everything and cut everything on my miter saw here. This is a Win miter saw. Works great. I did a review on it in the past. You guys want to see that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started cutting these boards, making sure I got everything lined up correctly here. Luckily I had enough scrap left over that I could actually cut these. So my smallest ones I'm going to go ahead and cut, that way I don't mess anything up here. So I need 4 15-inch boards. It feels like it's pretty thin. Now on these measuring tapes, you want to make sure that end might need to be pushed in. See how this one wiggles a little bit? That's going to knock things off 1/8 of an inch. With mine, if you push it all the way in, that's going to be the exact measurement. If you leave it, you know, whenever you pull against something, it's going to be 1/8 inch off. So you want to take that into compensation. That's something a lot of people don't tell you. You got to learn on your own. And also you want to make sure that blade is lined up with that mark, with the side of that mark. You know, the teeth has got to be right to the side of that mark in order for it to be accurate. Now if you're cutting from this way, you're measuring from this side, you got to compensate that blade into it as well, so you got to measure on that side of the blade, because if you don't, you're going to be cutting off 1/8 of an inch extra than what you want, or whatever your blade thickness is. So we're lined up for 15 inches. Now I need a new blade on this thing, by the way. So yeah, the camera turned off on its own. My memory was full apparently, so I had to delete a bunch of videos, so you didn't even see any of those cuts that I just made. But I still got one more board I got to make a cut on, and that's for the 3 26 1/4 inch pieces. These are the boards that I've already cut. So I've already cut these boards. I got my 4 15-inch pieces here on the bottom, which, you know, are like 6-inch boards, I believe. And then I've got my 3 15 3/4 inch boards here, which they're just a little under 6 inches. So they're gonna make 4, but I'm only gonna need 3. So we'll have a little bit of scrap left over on that one. And then here's the big board that I haven't cut yet, and that's gonna make all 3 of my 26 1/4 inch pieces. So here we go. So again, this one right here has a split in it, so I'm gonna complete, and obviously it has this big hole in it. So I'm gonna measure from this other side. I'm also gonna make a square cut first, because I can see this one is not completely square. I've already got my saw and everything set up to cut 90 degrees. Go ahead and turn this around. I don't have any splits on now. Yeah, I do have some splits. I have a split on that back end. Let me measure this. Let's see where that. See how much it's going to take off if I cut that out. I'm not going to be able to use that board actually. It's got a decent split on the back of it right here. Yeah, right here. And that's gonna make it's gonna make it 22 inches to where this thing starts here, so that's not gonna work. I need 26 1/4. I've got a couple more boards back here that I might be able to use. Let's see. See what this one looks like. It's got a decent crack in the back end of it too. I can use that one. Yep, I can use that one. I just got to make a small square cut on this one on the end. Flip it over and measure from that side since it's square. 26 1/4. Draw one little on my board. There we go. So I'm coming in 1/8 of an inch more, that way I don't have to pull on that measuring tape, because that just slows things down. Alright, 36 1/8, let's just double check it. With it pushed in, like it's supposed to be. It's more like a 16th, so. Here we are, 26 1/4. Alright guys, so next step is to joint the edges. I'm just going to joint one edge per board, and then I'm going to go take it back to my table saw, and I'm going to cut 2-inch pieces out. Alright guys, so I'm using my new Porter cable joiner today. I used it last night. It works really well. I really like it compared to the Win joiner I got. I'll probably do a review on this at some point. But it has a gauge on it and everything. Since last night, I've always ran through it 1/16 of an inch to start with. I haven't had to take off anymore for these boards, and actually I had one that was pretty bad, and it took everything off to flat in 2 passes, so that works for me. So I've got my rigid shop vac hooked up to it. These connections here are pretty tight for shop vac connections, so you'll really have to wiggle it pretty extensively. Maybe this one was just made smaller or something, but this one was interesting to try to get in there. I had to really squeeze the hell out of it to get it in there right. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and do the edge joining on this. It's already set up at 90 degrees. I had it set up to do that yesterday, so we're good to go. I like to eyeball down the board just to kind of see what side is best. Most of these boards are fine though, so. So that was really quick and efficient. I mean, that thing works great out there. Compared to that pin joint I had, it works perfect. Alright, now I'm going to take these back there and run them through the table saw. Cut them down to 2 inch. I'll get my table saw set up for a 2-inch cut. This is a rigid table saw. It's already set up well with the gauge, so we're good to go. All we have to do is set it here and go to town. You got to be careful with some of them. All right, we'll go ahead and cut our 26 and 1/4 inch pieces. To my joiner and face joint each one of these boards, make sure they're perfectly flat and straight, and then I'm gonna run them through my plane. Right, so I got these two push pads. These are angled, so what I like to do is hold them like this. That way it's pushing the stock up against the fence, and then I run it through. Once I just have the weight on the first one to start with, and I run it through, And then once that one gets on the other side of the blade, I take and I put this one down, don't put any pressure on it, just kind of put the tip of it on there, and then just kind of, you know, as it goes through, I put a little bit more pressure on it until it gets past that blade, and I just continue doing that process, you know, until the whole board's through there. So yeah, that was pretty easy. You know, as you could tell, I mean, it went through just fine. There was a couple times where I hit a knot or two, but and I had to run it through twice or something. There was one board I had to run through 3 times just because the board was a little bit bowed. So, but they're all flat now. All I need to do is run through my thickness planer, and I'll go ahead and get that set up and run those through. And then we'll have our dimensional lumber for, and I've got to run all these through, so everything that I've got for the cabinet, I've got to run through there. So after that, then we'll have all of our lumber that we need. We'll have everything down to the thickness that we need. So at that stage, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and drill the pocket holes and glue and screw everything together, which will be. So you can see I have all my stock set up here on top of the planer. You know, it's probably not exactly the best position to put it, but just so you guys can get a grasp of what all we have to run through the planer. And this is going to be easier for me since I don't have to reverse this pipe and everything. So anyway, some of this stuff is closer to like 7/8 of an inch, and some of it is like on the borderline, like, you know, if I can even use it for 3/4 inch or not. You know, all in all, what I can do is I can take this down. It might be a tad under 3/4 of an inch, but it'll still work for what I'm using it for. So, you know, like I said, these are custom cabinets, so I can do whatever I want to with them. I mean, you know, it's my house, right? So I can make it happen one way or another. But anyway, just stay tuned. I'm gonna go ahead and start running these through. I've already ran a couple of them through just to kind of see what level we're at, as far as the planer goes. So, right now I'm at 7/8 of an inch, and I just lowered it from what I had it previously set to. I only had like 2 boards that actually had anything planed off of them when I ran them through. So anyway, guys, just kind of stay tuned here. I still have several boards to run through here. I'm going to go ahead and run them through, and you guys can watch this process. Going to be some nice cedar. That stuff's really, really pretty. I always leave the character in there. Knots and everything doesn't bother me. Now the ones here at the end like this bothered me a little bit. Alright guys, that's the end of part 3. Next part, what I'm going to do is drill pocket holes in these. then screw and glue them together, and then anchor them to the cabinet. So that'll be part 4. So hope you guys liked the video. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.